The beauty, tranquility, and restorative benefit of parks and recreation has been a Wilmington value since William Poole Bancroft convinced the Delaware legislature to create a board of park commissioners in 1886. Woo! Today, our Highlands neighborhood is blessed by, get this number, this is straight from our superintendent's mouth, nearly 900 acres of nearby parks. And our guest is in charge of all of them. Please welcome Wilmington Park Superintendent Alana Delaney. Alana is a native of the Empire State. She grew up in Bayport, New York on Long Island and moved to the First State in 2006 to attend the University of Delaware. She worked in public service, has worked in public service ever since her 2010 graduation, including stints as youth program coordinator, camp director, and park patrol officer. 8 different jobs at 12 parks plus the zoo, where she was a volunteer manager, which we hope to hear about here in a second. As the Wilmington and Alapocas run state park superintendent, Alana is responsible for oversight and management of, get this, Brandywine, Alapocas run, the H. Fletcher Brown and Rockford parks, as well as Kentmere Parkway. This is including the maintenance, repair, conservation, and construction of all park sites and facilities, employment and performance of personnel, budgets, management, environmental and cultural resource stewardship, and special events and permit coordination. Holy moly, I have no idea how you found the time to join us for our Zoom call. Alana Delaney, thank you. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to join you all tonight.
What a setup, huh? That is a mouthful.
Yeah, I was gonna say that exact phrase, and it's pretty impressive, your resume. So we're gonna start with some local questions first. Can you describe your Highlands? Like, what is your view? What is your day-to-day experience here?
Absolutely. Highlands, I will never forget my first trip through Highlands. I was still in school and I went to the flower market with some friends for the first time. And we went through Wilmington, which I'd never been in before. And I just couldn't believe that beautiful neighborhood was right smack in the middle of the city. So it's really a gem. And I feel so privileged to be a steward of such a small part of that and to be involved in the community and taking care of Kentmere Parkway and Rockford.
And I love that one of your first experiences was the Wilmington Flower Market, because I do feel like that is like a staple to our community. And it is sad that for 2 years now that we're not going to have it, but hopefully next spring it will be a different story.
Yeah, they actually just released an article. They're going to do a small weekend in the fall. So they're going to come back for a little event this year.
Well, that is late breaking news, and that is awesome.
Thanks,
so thank you for sharing that. So tell us about growing up on Long Island. What parks turned you on there?
Sure, I've always been a huge outdoor enthusiast. I grew up on the south shore of Long Island, so right in a small bay beach community. So I was constantly outside. My parents took us hiking and camping and to visit all sorts of different parks and natural areas. My grandparents were really into birding and nature as well. So I was just surrounded by people who loved nature and loved getting outside and really wanted their kids to feel that way also. I have 2 younger siblings and all 3 of us just grew up outside all the time. My brother was a Boy Scout. I was always super jealous of what he was doing. So then I started doing it too. We both got really into rock climbing and kayaking. And then I met my husband, who's also into outdoor adventure sports. So we've been able to keep that trend and keep that a part of our family culture.
Was there a moment or an experience, a specific park or a trip that really kind of made you think, oh, there's something about this I want to do? There's something, or was it the community? You've done a lot with young people in parks. Interested in sort of an origin story experience.
Sure, I'll never forget my kind of aha moment with parks. I was in school, still going to White Clay Creek constantly on my own hiking, but I never really had someone connect the dots for me that could be a career choice. And then I needed a summer job. I was kind of struggling to figure it out. I was introduced to the AmeriCorps program, which is a volunteer intern program, and they were hiring summer camp counselors for White Clay Creek. I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so perfect, and just fell in love. And the team I worked with was so supportive. Every single one of them was a mentor to me. And just every opportunity that came up, I was so eager to learn more and to try something new and to take myself out of my comfort zone, to learn the biodiversity of Delaware and the rules and regulations and how parks worked and how that could end up being a career and how my skills and my passions could fit into that, which just so neatly lined up in an array of different park positions that I was lucky to hold from then to now.
And it's worth noting, we talked to Tad earlier, it's worth noting that parks is a component of it sounds like a pretty rich portfolio of interest and experience. You actually majored in the arts. Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, I started as a music education major, and then I switched to fine arts. So I was a little directionless towards the end of my college career, and then I found my way to parks, and the rest is history. I'm very fortunate to have that happy accident to end up here.
Well, I don't know, and we're all directionless towards that point, right? Like, at least I was too. So you're not alone there. I have a zillion kind of very granular questions. So I hope in the Q&A, which we'll get to in a few minutes, guys, other folks will ask sort of high level, broader questions, but I have a zillion, like what sort of creatures and animals are living in these 900 acres around us that we don't necessarily see all the time. I've certainly seen fox and some great raptors. Sure.
We have some really interesting species right in your backyards. Now is an amazing time to get out. I'm not going to say go off the path, but there is an old rail line in Rockford Park that is worn and that you can get to. And the spring ephemerals down there are just popping up. You're seeing some really awesome, the trout lily are out. The jack in the pulpit, really neat, just temporary spring flowers are starting to bloom. Alapocas woods, they're all over the place there also. So definitely recommend taking advantage of them while they're out. But as far as some of our resident critters, we have the northern copperhead snake, which is the only venomous snake in Delaware. They are not aggressive. They usually hang out. You'll see them sunning themselves in some of the rock outcroppings. So you can keep your eye out for them, but they're beautiful. They have these big broad heads and really neat kind of diamond pattern across their back. And then we have the pawpaw, which is our native fruit that grows in parts of Brandywine Park and then parts of Alapocas Run as well. So that's an interesting plant in that it, the zebra swallowtail, their caterpillars eat the pawpaw. So it's a huge part of their life cycle. So we have these amazing butterflies. It's a really interesting plant that does produce fruit that you can eat. We operate with a leave no trace policy in Delaware State Parks, where we don't take anything out of the park, and then we don't bring anything in either. So we ask that you not harvest them, so we can leave them for the local fauna. But they're just neat looking, these big green things, and those plants have beautiful purple flowers that are starting to pop out.
Oh, excellent. I suspect you could have answered that question for a couple of days, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the good news about, 900 acres. Again, I beg your pardon to folks convened, but this is so specific. But you were mentioning the old rail line back there. I tend to drop my girls off at school and then jog back there sometimes. And I've seen this strange structure with a stairwell and a wire across the bridge. Oh, sorry, a wire across the Brandywine towards the experiment station. What the heck is that thing? Do you know? Does anyone know?
I don't know, but I do know the structure that you're talking about. Yeah. I imagine it has to do with that dam there, but I can get you the answer.
Will be fun.
I'll look into it.
I'll follow you. We'll do a field survey. You call me next time you're in the park. That would be the thrill of my entire year and a half in Highlands. What has surprised you about having this leadership role as you've leaned into it? What has surprised you about the parks, or about the role, or about the scope of work?
A couple of different things impressed me about the parks. Just them being so remote feeling in the middle of a city and surrounded by urban development is amazing. Having park systems that a lot of them have industrial paths, which is an interesting component to them, where either nature has reclaimed spaces or we're maintaining and preserving historic features and elements to tell the tale of Wilmington. the quarry industry, the mill industry. There's just a lot of different stories to tell that they're all tied to the park, and then that kind of bleeds out into the communities. And people have been in Wilmington in these areas for generations, and it's amazing to hear the stories and people's connections to the park or to what was there before the park, to Bancroft Mills when it was operational, to these different areas, to the Blue Ball Barn, which is now the Alapocas Run State Park office. People worked there when it was a dairy farm, or remember it when it was ruins on the side of the road, and then came into the beautiful building that it is now. So it's a really amazing system. And then the people I get to work with, I have 16 full-time staff members, and every single one of them is incredibly skilled, but incredibly passionate about parks and about what they do. They love the park area. They love working in Wilmington and for the people of Wilmington, and they love preserving these cultural and natural resources for everyone.
That is so cool. And it's awesome that you work with such passionate people that love what they do every day. At our HCA fall meeting, you mentioned that we might have a new traffic pattern. Any update? Is that still happening in Rockford Park?
It's still happening. It got just slowed down a little bit due to COVID, unfortunately. We were waiting to get recommendations from Public Works and from DelDOT about the lane widths. Because if you remember, our traffic flow pattern is going to change, where we'll have parallel parking near the dog run, and then one-way traffic through the park in a shared use pedestrian bike lane. But we want to make sure that we're providing adequate space, especially for the bike and pedestrian lane, so that they're able to travel to and from wherever they're going in the park. So just trying to get those numbers together so that we don't paint and then realize that we needed to allow more room one way or the other. And now that it's warm enough, we are able to paint. So just getting those last things together. We won't just go out and paint. We're gonna make sure that we sign and let people know that the pattern change is coming. And we'll make sure that that's circulated out when we get a date and when we get definites for that.
No, I mean, it's a great idea. I'm all about a safer park, especially as my children run through that park every single day. So what summer activities can we anticipate for the kids in 2021?
Our summer is going to look a little bit different as it has the past couple of years, but again, going back to my awesome team, they've really overcome and been able to do some amazing things. So while we can't offer things the way we used to, we are finding ways to adapt and still have offerings to the public. So my programming team, they're working on a number of both virtual and in-person public programming offerings. If you check our website, you can find all of those. And then we're going to have our concerts returning to Rockford Park this summer, which I'm sure the Highlands are excited about. And we are returning to the Sugar Bowl as well. We had taken last year away from the Sugar Bowl. The Friends of Wilmington Parks partner with us for the concerts. So we focused on Rockford to make sure that we did that safely and properly. And with how well we were able to manage that event, we were comfortable that we could expand to a limited schedule over at the Sugar Bowl as well. So we'll have Monday and Wednesday concerts coming up.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Somebody's going to be getting an email about concerts in a few minutes. That's very cool. Let me ask a higher level question, because you've got to be close to this. What sort of challenges, what are the challenges that that the parks are facing, or that the organization is facing, if any? Or is it just smooth sailing?
For the most part, I think one of our biggest challenges is just trying to do so much more with less. Across the entire state park system. We have a $118 million backlog in capital projects, and there's a limited budget to cover those projects. And that can be sewer repair or major electrical issues, or H. Fletcher Brown is a good example here in Wilmington, where that is infrastructure needs that need to kind of be prioritized with the other park areas and then limited funds available to us.
So, we are so many of these parks actual neighbors, right? Like, what can we do to be better park stewards?
The absolute best thing that I would recommend, if you haven't already, is to join the Friends of Wilmington Parks. They are our partner nonprofit organization, and we really work hand in hand with them. They help us prioritize our projects. They identify things from our list that they're excited about or they're passionate about, and they'll do fundraising efforts or find ways to write grants or get us the resources that we need to try to make up some ground on this capital deficiency that we have. They host their own events. I mentioned the summer concerts. They also do the annual Rose Garden party at the Jasper Green Rose Garden. They partner with us at Foodie Fridays up at the Blue Ball Barn. And they also have two very active volunteer groups, Native Habitat Restoration Team that's currently working in Brandywine Park. Their prime objective is to remove invasive species and then reintroduce native plants to Wilmington and Alapocas run state parks. And the Jasper Crane Rose Garden volunteer group they completely maintain and manage the garden. We support them, but I got to give them all the credit for how amazing that garden looks.
That's neat.
It's a great way to stay informed. Also, I always attend their meetings, provide updates on the park. It's a good way to be more up to date with what we're doing and to work alongside what Delaware State Parks has on our plate.
All right, well, I have a new association to join. So now we're gonna put you on the spot for some fun rapid rounds. Don't feel too much pressure on this one. And then we are gonna open up to questions, and it looks like Sue already has a great question for you lined up in the chat. So we're just gonna do a couple quick and fun favorites. What is your favorite dish and restaurant?
Ooh. I'm obsessed with Southeast Kitchen in Trolley Square. And I have their tofu fat like an embarrassing amount of times a month. So I'm going to say that's probably my favorite dish.
What about coffee?
Ooh, Brouhaha has a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
They've got a great cup of coffee.
And a beautiful landscaping also.
Yeah.
Where is your favorite view?
Ooh, that's an awesome question.
It can be local or anywhere in the world, but whatever.
Oh my gosh, anywhere in the world.
Let's start with, we can stick with the Highlands then.
Sure, I'll do both. So my favorite view in the whole wide world is Oak Beach, New York. It's like 20 minutes from where I grew up. My family, my whole big family, goes every summer to this teeny tiny house that's been in the family for generations. And it's just the best. You sit on the porch, you see the beach out in front of you. So that's definitely my happy place. But my favorite park view, there's something really special about coming over the Bancroft Bridge and going into Alapocas Run State Park and seeing those cliffs for the first time in front of you. That's something that really resonates with you and sticks with you. It's so unique and something you would never expect it in a city, but also in Delaware, which largely has a pretty flat terrain. And then you see these big cliffs pop up in front of you.
Yeah, the Blue Rock is so surprising when you first see it. Okay, this might be tough. Your favorite beach?
I gotta stick with Long Island. The Delaware beaches are fine. Not much of a boardwalk person, so I'm a little.
We love.
Didn't grow up with that.
Here. Totally understood.
Local hero.
Eunice LaFate is a local folk artist. She has partnered with us on a bunch of different initiatives at the Blue Ball Barn and with our folk art collection, but just her personality and her story is so infectious and amazing, and her love for the community resonates in everything that she does. She's really impressive.
That's cool.
Very cool. And I promise your last one. I guess this could either be before COVID or even now, your favorite weekend escape.
My family, we traveled to Black Shannon State Park out in Pennsylvania. It's by State College. So they've got these cool rustic cabins, and we'll go any time of year. We'll go up there and in the winter trudge through the snow, or go out there in the fall. And my husband does upland game hunting, and I enjoy the view. So that's kind of our escape away.
Oh, that's great to know. See, the truth is, Linz and I are crowdsourcing places to eat with our families, places to go. That's So once again, if the folks in the audience have a question or two, please do get them ready. We're going to wrap here in a sec. This is the last one for you, Alana, from Linz and me. Fine. So just if you would fill in the blank, this is a little bit of a Highlands Mad Lib. If I had one wish for our neighborhood, it would be?
I'm going to say be more involved in Rockford. That's not the word that I want. Just be there enjoying it. I see Highlands community members in there all the time, and that's amazing. And just generations of families out there celebrating that space and continue that culture. And it's an amazing amenity that you have in your backyards and a real treasure. And these other park areas are not far away. So it's take advantage of having those areas so close.
It's a deal. Promise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sue, thank you so much for throwing out a question to the chat. Thanks for coming off mute, and feel free to ask the question directly to Alana.
What I was wondering, Alana, is what exactly is the plan for the ivy on the trees? I understand you said something about invasives and the Friends of Brandywine Parks, but what about the ivy? So many of our parks have trees that are just loaded with ivy, and it's really kind of tough to see.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. That's a great volunteer opportunity that the Friends of Wilmington Parks had initially kicked off several years ago. We've been continuing that effort now with volunteer groups in the parks, trying to combat the ivy. We have to do it carefully and safely. It has been there for a long time, so we don't want to damage the trees. But we have an online volunteer calendar that has the dates that we're going to be scheduled at Rockford, and a lot of what we're doing there is ivy removal. So we definitely always need extra hands doing that, but it is something that is on definitely on our priority list to make sure that we're saving those trees and taking care of that before it gets completely out of hand and takes the forest down.
What about the little pockets of trees? Like, I think I'm not sure if that's in your realm, but like, for instance, near the old Shin's paint store, I'm trying to think of the street, maybe Wawasset, I believe it's like around Wawasset, the paint store. There's a block behind that, there's like a small section of trees, and so many of them are covered. Is that something that the parks handles, or is that Department of Transportation, or what is that area?
If the area that you're talking about is the one I'm thinking, that would be our park area. So I'd love to connect with you, maybe offline. I can get your contact information, and I can make sure that I'm getting eyes on exactly the spot you're talking about, and we can add that to the list. Absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
It looks like Dennison has a question. Dennison, do you want to come off mute?
Sure. Elena, I have a question about the jurisdiction of your park, because I think I have a follow-up question or comment. But from Rockford Park, you go across the Brandywine, and then do you go all the way to the Blue Ball barn? Is that within your jurisdiction?
Yeah. Once you cross the river, that's Alapocas Run, but that's my park area.
Okay. Then I have a comment that there was about 100-foot tree that fell across the path in, I guess, Alapocas Run on Friday, and which required me to turn around, which was just fine. But what I was just amazed that tree was cut down between Friday and Tuesday. And I just really want to commend you, or your staff is just terrific. So it's really more a comment that I didn't know whether that tree would be there for 2 weeks, but you guys cleared the path, and that was terrific.
Thank you. Yeah, the crew takes a lot of pride. They do trash runs every single day, and they're constantly reporting on things like that so we can address them quickly. And I think it's one of our strengths as a staff, and really shows their pride in the park spaces that they're responsible for. So I'll make sure I pass that on. Thank you.
Please do.
All right. Any more questions? I don't see any in the chat, but if anyone would like to come off mute, just feel free to raise your hand or throw it in the chat.
Going once, going twice. All right,
I had a question.
great.
Hi, Alana. It's John Metcalf. How are you?
Hey, John, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. I have a question that people are asking me, and I don't know. Will there be a parking lot, a state parking lot coming to the south side of the Brandywine to access Alapocas Park where the Bancroft Mill is?
Great question. Yes, there will be. When the construction started over there, there was an agreement with state parks that we would have a 25 spot parking lot right at the entrance to the Bancroft Mills Bridge there once construction was completed. So we will have a parking lot return. We know it's an incredible inconvenience not having it there, but we're going to have a much better access point. The contractors also restored the train platform on the opposite side of the bridge as part of that proposal and agreement. So we're lucky that was able to get done. Unfortunately, the parking lot is taking more time. So we appreciate everyone's patience with that. We know it's a hike from the Blue Ball Barn or from Brandywine Park. For some people, that's just not doable. So we're hopeful that they get that wrapped up. I don't have a time frame right now. It's probably going to be one of the last parts of that project to be completed, but we will have a parking lot return there eventually.
I have a question for John. What's in your facility there? It looks like is it a draft beer or what? Or is it a filter?
It's a filter.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, gosh, I think we're at time. Linz, Alana, Dennison, we did it. So thank you, Alana. Thank you. I'm so pleased. I told Alana that the first time she joined the fall meeting, Dennison was kind of where I thought to myself, this is somebody I'd really like to talk to again soon. So thanks for coming back. In our next episode, which is Tuesday, April 20th at 7:30, we'll welcome a Delaware Community College professor and Red Clay School District Board member, Dr. Adriana Bohm. That's at May 4th at 7:30. And our very last, Lindsay, it's our 6th episode. We do 6, right? Our sixth episode for season 1 will be State Senator Sarah McBride. That's May 18th. And then, of course, on Wednesday, May 19th, our own HCA President, Dennison Hatch and Company, will convene our annual spring meeting. And as I said, more information as that date approaches. We hope to see you there. Meantime, I'm Benjamin Wagner.
And I'm Lindsay DeSabatino, and we'll see you around the neighborhood.